We are taking a live look at the iDrive map this morning. This has been such a handy tool during this winter storm as we could look at what those road conditions were looking like. Our RDOT crews have continued to get more roadways across the state clear after last weekend's snowstorm. Now, crews are warning, though, about patches of ice on a stretch of Interstate 40 between Ozark and Clarksville. You can see that there on the map. Some areas in Siloam Springs are light pink, meaning that there could be some slush on the roads. Well, school districts say conditions in areas are still too dangerous for buses to roll out. In Fort Smith, Billy Butler with the street department says the biggest challenge comes when melting snow refreezes into ice overnight.
He says removing it isn't as simple as snow since the plows skim over the top layer of ice. Meanwhile, workers in Fayetteville are facing similar challenges.
That refreeze at night does continue to just build on that layer of ice that we have to then go back and re-scrape and then start all over every morning.
In both cities, crews have been working nonstop, and Fayetteville leaders are telling drivers to take it slow when you have to get out on the roads. Well, several local schools are still closed this morning, including Alma, Boonville, Greenwood, and Poteau. You can scan this QR code on your screen to see the full list on our website. Those school closures are also scrolling at the bottom of your screen.
Well, we first told you last weekend that ahead of this cold weather, a harp store in Fayetteville sold more groceries than any other snowstorm.
Yeah, and it wasn't just this store. Residents tell us that lines were out the door across the area. I took a closer look at what happened during the snow and how grocery stores deal with delays in restocking once the roads clear. The recent winter storm left many grocery store shelves empty and delivery trucks stuck. Harp's grocery manager Max Hendrissy says the weather made it difficult for some suppliers to get through.
A lot of our vendors were supposed to deliver Monday, didn't deliver because the roads are still too bad. It's usually about a day or two of delaying until it gets clear for them to drive.
Some restocks never made it at all.
We had a really big day yesterday and we barely had anything on the shelves.
Even with the delays, shoppers were quick to return, sometimes faster than supplies could keep up.
And at least 3 of our trucks got canceled completely because they got stuck.
Steve Good with the Arkansas Grocers Association says many stores in Northwest Arkansas rely on distribution centers out of state, making weather conditions even more critical.
A lot of times it's what you're able to get because not only are outbound orders difficult to get out, inbound orders to the warehouses are hard to get into.
And when delays happen, fresh goods are especially hard to replace.
You can react on non-fresh a little quicker, but fresh, meat items, produce items, dairy items are a little harder to react on and get those items on in the warehouse because you've got pretty much standing orders.
In most cases, Good says stores recover within a few days.
But typically, we have an event and then 2 or 3 days later, we've got, 40, 50 degree weather and it gets it right back off the roads.
And when forecasts show prolonged freezing temperatures, they try to help stores prepare ahead of time.
We just make sure that, we've communicated as best we can to them that, hey, you've got a weather event coming, make sure you're stocking up and getting prepared.
In other news, Prairie Grove's mayor says the fire chief has been placed on paid leave due to a criminal investigation. John C. Dobbs was officially placed on leave last Monday. According to the mayor, the criminal investigation stems from allegations brought forward by a former employer. Prairie Grove Police is not investigating, but Captain Jeff O'Brien said he could not confirm what agency is leading the change on that. We don't know any other details about the investigation right now, but we will keep you updated with any new information here on 5 News.
Well, senators returned to Capitol Hill this morning after leaving overnight without a vote on a spending deal, one now linked to proposed reforms of ICE. The agreement would bring 5 spending bills to the floor to fund most government agencies through September. Funding for the Department of Homeland Security would be delayed for 2 weeks, giving lawmakers time to negotiate changes to ICE, including body cameras, warrant rules, and limits on enforcement practices.
I'm willing to entertain some reforms to make sure that we rein in ICE appropriately and make it more professional. But the cancer that we're dealing with is sanctuary city policy.
Meanwhile, President Trump says a deal can still be reached to keep the government funded without a shutdown.
Work in a very bipartisan way. I believe not to have a shutdown. We don't want a shutdown.
If the Senate passes this funding package, it goes back to the House for approval. Lawmakers there return next week with a narrow window to finalize the full budget. Well, President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, is promising a change in Minneapolis.
This comes after weeks of violent clashes between protesters and federal agents and the deadly shooting of 2 U.S. citizens. Homan says work is underway to improve tactics and focus on targeted enforcement. He also says some of the 3,000 agents currently deployed could be drawn down. That's if federal authorities get expanded access to undocumented immigrants being held in state prisons and county jails. Minnesota's Department of Corrections says prisons already cooperate with ICE detainer requests, but policies at local jails vary.
Well, a couple of the things we're working on as an association are a couple of statewide model policies that we would be rolling out.
As the region continues to mourn the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, local investigators say the state has not decided whether to file criminal charges against the officers involved.
Well, just in this morning, President Donald Trump says that he will nominate former Federal Reserve official Kevin Warsh to be the next chair of the Fed.
That's according to the Associated Press. Warsh would replace Jerome Powell when his term expires in May. Trump chose Powell to lead the Fed in 2017, but has been critical of his take on interest rates this year, saying he has not been cutting interest rates quickly enough.